I'm Jane, 32F, and I've been married to Eric, 34M, for 8 years. We have 2 kids, Lily, 6F, and Max, 4M. Eric comes from a close-knit family, with his parents, Jack, 60M, and Linda, 58F, and his younger sister, Karen, 29F. Eric and I met in college. I was the quiet, studious type, while Eric was the life of the party. We were an unlikely pair, but we balanced each other out perfectly. After graduation, we moved in together and started building our life. Eric proposed a year later, and we had a beautiful wedding surrounded by both our families. From the beginning, I noticed how different our families were. My parents, both professors, valued independence and personal space. They called once a week and visited on major holidays. Eric's family, on the other hand, was always around. Linda would drop by unannounced with homemade casseroles, Jack would call Eric every evening to discuss sports, and Karen seemed to think our apartment was an extension of her own. At first, I tried to embrace their closeness. I joined their weekly family dinners, attended every birthday party and barbecue, and even went on their annual family camping trip. But as time went on, I started feeling suffocated. I couldn't make plans without checking the family calendar first. Our weekends were always booked with family events. Even our date nights were often interrupted by calls from Eric's family. The breaking point came when Lily was born. Linda showed up at the hospital before I had even been moved to a private room. She stayed for hours, holding the baby and giving me unsolicited advice on breastfeeding and diaper changing. When we brought Lily home, Linda was there every day, rearranging our nursery and criticizing my parenting choices. Eric didn't see the problem. He loved having his family around and couldn't understand why I felt overwhelmed. We had our first big fight when I suggested we limit family visits to once a week. Eric accused me of trying to keep his family away from our daughter. Things got worse when I went back to work. Linda offered to babysit Lily full-time, but I wanted to use a daycare. This led to more arguments, with Linda insisting that family should take care of family, and Eric struggling to understand why I didn't want his mother's help. When I got pregnant with Max, I knew something had to change. I was offered a promotion at work, but it required relocating to a different city. It was a tough decision, but Eric and I agreed it was a good opportunity for our family. We moved when Lily was 2 and I was 7 months pregnant. The move was hard on everyone. Linda cried and accused me of stealing her son and grandchildren. Jack was more understanding but clearly disappointed. Karen threw a fit, saying we were abandoning the family. Eric was torn between his excitement for our new life and guilt over leaving his family. For the past 4 years, we've maintained a comfortable distance. We visit them on major holidays, and they come to see us once or twice a year. It's been working well for us, allowing us to build our own family unit while still staying connected to Eric's side. The kids love their grandparents and aunt but are also happy in our new city with their friends and activities. Last month, Eric's father Jack lost his job. He'd been working at the same manufacturing company for 30 years, steadily climbing from the factory floor to a management position. The company was bought out, and the new owners decided to downsize. Jack, along with several other longtime employees, was let go. Linda called us in tears, explaining their financial situation. They had some savings, but with Jack's age, finding a new job seemed challenging. They were considering selling their house, the one Eric and Karen grew up in, to make ends meet. A week later, Eric came to me with an idea. He suggested we invite his parents to live with us until they get back on their feet. I was hesitant, remembering how suffocating it felt when we lived closer to them. But Eric insisted it would only be temporary, maybe 6 months at most. He talked about how much the kids would love having their grandparents around, and how we could help Jack network in our city to find a new job. I reluctantly agreed, on the condition that we set clear boundaries and a timeline. We would convert our home office into a bedroom for them, and they would contribute to household expenses as much as they could. Eric was overjoyed and called his parents immediately. They accepted the offer gratefully, promising to be respectful of our space and routines. However, things took an unexpected turn when Karen heard about the arrangement. Karen has always been the baby of the family, used to getting her way. She called Eric and said she wanted to move in too. Apparently, she had just broken up with her long-term boyfriend, Nathan, and was struggling to afford rent on her own. Karen has always been a bit of a free spirit. She studied art in college but has jumped from job to job since graduating. She's worked as a barista, a yoga instructor, and most recently, as a social media manager for a small boutique. She's been living with Nathan for the past 3 years, in an apartment that was mostly paid for by him. Eric didn't outright refuse Karen's request. Instead, he told me about it, saying it might be nice to have her around to help with the kids. He mentioned how Karen has always been great with Lily and Max, and how she could use some family support after her breakup. I was shocked. Our house isn't tiny, but it's not big enough for 3 extra adults. We'd already be cramped with Jack and Linda staying with us. Adding Karen to the mix would be chaos. Plus, I was worried about the impact on our kids. They're used to our routines and rules, and I feared having so many adults with different parenting styles would be confusing for them. I put my foot down and told Eric absolutely not. Having his parents was already a big adjustment, but adding Karen would be too much. I pointed out that Karen is an adult who should be able to support herself, and that her situation wasn't as dire as his parents. Eric got upset, accusing me of not caring about his family. He said I was being selfish and that family should always come first. He brought up how my parents live in another country, they're currently on a 2-year teaching assignment abroad, and how his family has always been there for us. I argued that our nuclear family, me, him, and our kids, should be our priority. I reminded him of how overwhelmed I felt when we lived near his family before, and how much healthier our relationship has been since we moved. We got into a heated argument, with Eric saying I never truly accepted his family and me pointing out how his family never respected our boundaries. The argument ended with Eric storming out of the house. He went to stay with a friend for the night, leaving me alone with the kids. I'm standing firm on my decision, but now I'm wondering if I'm being unreasonable. Am I the asshole for refusing to let my sister-in-law move in, even though I agreed to his parents staying with us? Edit. Thank you all for your responses. To clarify some points, our house has 3 bedrooms. We're already planning to have the kids share a room when Eric's parents move in. Karen has a job, but she says her salary isn't enough to cover rent in her current place without her ex-boyfriend's contribution. Eric and I never discussed helping Karen financially before this. It came out of the blue. We haven't told Jack and Linda about this situation yet. They're planning to move in next month. Update 1, it's been 3 weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It really helped me gain perspective on the situation. After Eric came back home the next day, we had a long, honest conversation. I explained my concerns about overcrowding our home and the stress it would put on our family. I reminded him of the challenges we faced early in our marriage when his family was constantly around, and how moving away had strengthened our relationship. I also opened up about my fears of losing our family's identity. I told him how I worry that having his parents and potentially his sister living with us would shift the dynamic, making me feel like an outsider in my own home. I shared how I sometimes still feel like I'm not fully accepted by his family, especially his mother, and how having them all under our roof might exacerbate those feelings. Eric listened attentively, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. He admitted he felt guilty about Karen's situation, and that's why he considered letting her move in. He opened up about feeling torn between his role as a husband and father, and his role as a son and brother. He shared how he sometimes feels like he's failing his family by living far away, especially now when they're struggling. We talked about our different family backgrounds and how they shape our perspectives. I shared more about my childhood, growing up with parents who were often busy with their academic careers. I explained how I learned to be independent from a young age and how that influenced my desire for personal space and boundaries. Eric talked about the close-knit community he grew up in, where neighbors were like extended family and everyone looked out for each other. After hours of discussion, we came to a compromise. We decided to help Karen financially for a few months so she could keep her current apartment, but we made it clear that this was temporary assistance, not a long-term solution. We agreed to review our budget and set aside a specific amount each month for 3 months. This would give Karen time to either find a better-paying job or more affordable living situation. We also set a strict 6-month limit for his parents' stay, with the understanding that they need to actively look for jobs in their own place during this time. We drafted a simple agreement outlining our expectations, including contributing to household expenses, respecting our parenting decisions, and maintaining the privacy of our bedroom and the kids' rooms. Eric's parents, Jack and Linda, moved in 2 weeks ago. It's been an adjustment, to say the least. They arrived with more belongings than we expected, and our house suddenly feels much smaller. They're trying to be helpful, but it's clear they're used to running their own household. Linda keeps rearranging our kitchen, saying she's improving it. She's moved things around so much that I can never find what I need when I'm cooking. Jack has taken over our garage for his woodworking hobby, which he says helps him de-stress from job hunting. The noise and sawdust have become a constant presence. The kids are enjoying having their grandparents around, but bedtime has become a challenge. Linda thinks our rules are too strict and often tries to let the kids stay up later. She'll start a movie right before bedtime or offer them snacks when they should be brushing their teeth. I've had to have several conversations with her about respecting our parenting decisions. It's been awkward and tense at times. Eric has been supportive, backing me up when his parents overstep. He's also been actively helping his dad look for job opportunities and encouraging his mom to consider part-time work to supplement their income. I can see the strain it's putting on him, trying to balance everyone's needs and expectations. Karen wasn't happy about not being able to move in, but she accepted the financial help we offered. She's been calling Eric frequently, complaining about her ex and her job. I can tell it's stressing Eric out, but he's trying to maintain boundaries. He's encouraged her to seek therapy to deal with her breakup and to consider taking some professional development courses to improve her job prospects. Last week, we had a family dinner with Karen. She brought up the idea of moving to our city to be closer to family. I could see Eric tense up, probably worried I'd be upset. But I actually think it might be a good idea for her to be closer, just not in our house. We're helping her look at job opportunities and affordable apartments in our area. I figure if she's going to rely on family support, it might as well be in a way that doesn't involve her living with us. It's not perfect, but we're managing. Eric and I are communicating better than ever, which is a silver lining in all this. We're united in our approach to helping his family while protecting our own family unit. We've started having check-in conversations every few days to discuss any issues that come up and make sure we're on the same page. The experience has made me reflect on my own relationship with family and independence. While I still value my personal space, I'm trying to be more understanding of Eric's desire to help his family. At the same time, Eric is learning to set better boundaries with his parents and sister. I'll keep you updated on how things progress. Thanks again for all your support, Reddit. It's been incredibly helpful to have an outside perspective on this complicated situation. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. I appreciate everyone who's been following our story and offering advice. Jack, my father-in-law, found a job. It's not in his previous field of manufacturing management, but it's a decent position at a local hardware store. He seems to be enjoying it, especially since it allows him to share his DIY knowledge. This has lifted everyone's spirits and eased some of the financial stress. Jack's been coming home with funny stories about customers and their home improvement disasters, which has been a nice change from the tense atmosphere we've had lately. Linda, however, is struggling to adjust. She's been resistant to the idea of finding work, insisting that she needs to be available to help with the kids. This has led to some tension, as Eric and I feel she's using the kids as an excuse to avoid job hunting. We've tried to explain that we have a routine with school and aftercare, and while we appreciate her offer, we don't need full-time childcare. There was an incident last week where Linda picked up Lily from school without telling us, causing a panic when the school called to say Lily hadn't been picked up. It turned out Linda wanted to surprise us by taking Lily shopping for a new outfit. While her intentions were good, it highlighted the need for better communication and respect for our parental authority. The real challenge came when Karen decided to move to our city. She found a job at a local marketing firm and an apartment about 20 minutes from us. At first, I was relieved that she found her own place. But then, Linda dropped the bombshell. She announced at dinner one night that she and Jack were thinking of extending their stay with us indefinitely to help Karen settle in. Eric looked shocked, and I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. Linda went on about how Karen might need help setting up her new place, how she might get lonely in a new city, and how it would be nice for the family to all be together. I took a deep breath and calmly reminded them of our original agreement, a 6-month stay while they got back on their feet. I pointed out that with Jack's new job and their savings, they should be able to afford their own place soon. I also mentioned that Karen is an adult who doesn't need her parents to settle her in. Jack looked embarrassed and started to apologize, but Linda interrupted, saying, "Family plans change when family needs arise." She went on about how in her day, families stuck together and supported each other through thick and thin. She brought up how Eric and I had abandoned them by moving away, and how this was a chance to make things right. I lost my cool at that point. I told Linda that while we love them, this is our home, not a family commune. I reminded her of all the times she had overstepped since moving in, rearranging our things, interfering with our parenting, and now making unilateral decisions about living arrangements. I pointed out that we had been generous in opening our home to them and that it was unfair to try to change the terms of our agreement. Linda got upset and accused me of being cold and unfamily-like. She turned to Eric, clearly expecting him to side with her. To my relief and surprise, Eric stood his ground. He told his parents that we had been generous, but we needed our space back. He suggested they look for an apartment near Karen if they wanted to be close to her. The atmosphere was tense for a few days after that. Linda barely spoke to me, and Jack seemed caught in the middle. He tried to smooth things over, explaining that Linda was just worried about Karen and didn't mean to overstep. I appreciated his effort to keep the peace, but I stood firm on our original agreement. Karen called Eric to complain about how I was kicking out their parents, but Eric set her straight about the situation. He explained that this was always meant to be a temporary arrangement and that it wasn't fair to try to change that without discussing it with us first. We're now helping Jack and Linda look for their own place. The original 6-month timeline is coming to an end, and we're firm about sticking to it. It's not easy, but Eric and I are united in this decision. We've started looking at apartments in Karen's area, trying to find something that would suit Jack and Linda's needs while also being close to their daughter. I feel guilty sometimes, especially when I see how much the kids enjoy having their grandparents around. Lily asked me the other day why Grandma and Grandpa have to leave, and it broke my heart a little. But I know this is the right decision for our family's long-term happiness and stability. Eric and I have been talking a lot about how to maintain family connections without sacrificing our independence. We're planning to set up regular family dinners once Jack and Linda move out, and we're discussing the possibility of a yearly family vacation. It's a work in progress, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction. I'll post another update when Jack and Linda move out. Wish us luck, Reddit. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and I'm happy to report that we finally reached a resolution. Here's what happened. Jack and Linda moved out last week. We found them a nice, affordable apartment about halfway between our house and Karen's place. It's a 2-bedroom unit in a senior-friendly community with a small garden area, which Jack is excited about. The move itself was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, but we got through it. The day before the move, Linda made one last attempt to extend their stay. She claimed that moving would be too stressful for Jack with his new job, and that the kids would be devastated. Eric and I stood firm, reminding them of our agreement and the importance of having our own space back. We reassured them that we'd still see each other often and that this wasn't a goodbye, just a change. Moving day was hectic but successful. Eric and I helped them settle in, and even Karen showed up to lend a hand. It was actually nice to see everyone working together without the underlying tension of living under one roof. We spent the day unpacking boxes, arranging furniture, and setting up their new place. By the end of the day, it was starting to feel like home for them. The kids were sad to see their grandparents go, but we've already set up a regular schedule for visits. They'll come over for Sunday dinners, and we'll visit them every other Saturday. This way, we maintain close family ties without sacrificing our personal space. We've also planned some special outings with the grandparents, like a trip to the zoo next month, to give the kids something to look forward to. Karen seems to be adjusting well to her new job and apartment. She's been less dependent on Eric for emotional support, which has been a relief for both of us. She and I even had a heart-to-heart conversation where she admitted she understood why we couldn't all live together. It feels like we're finally on the same page. She's started joining us for our Sunday dinners, which has been nice for everyone. Eric and I have been enjoying having our house back to ourselves. We've re-established our routines and are focusing on our own family unit again. The first night after Jack and Linda moved out, we had a quiet dinner with just the 4 of us. It felt strange at first, but also peaceful. Lily and Max have adjusted well, though they sometimes ask when they'll see Grandma and Grandpa next. The experience, though challenging, has actually brought Eric and me closer together. We've learned a lot about communication, setting boundaries, and the importance of presenting a united front. We've started having weekly check-in conversations to discuss any family issues and make sure we're on the same page. Looking back, I don't regret our decision to help Eric's family during their tough time. But I'm glad we stuck to our boundaries and didn't let the situation become permanent. It's reinforced my belief that it's possible to be supportive of extended family without sacrificing your own family's well-being. We're now focusing on building a healthier relationship with Eric's family. We're planning a big family barbecue next month to celebrate Jack and Linda's new place and Karen's new job. It feels like a fresh start for all of us. Thank you, Reddit, for all your support and advice throughout this journey. It's been invaluable in helping us navigate this complex family situation. While I'm sure we'll face more challenges in the future, I feel like we're better equipped to handle them now.